Happy Monday to everybody in the chat. This is Everyday Shenanigans. This content is pertaining to the Petito family, extended members of the family. They are suing Moab Police Department for $50 million. I'm going to play the original press conference that was released 2 months ago, and then I will play another audio clip of the latest information in the queue that was probably about 2 days old. Thank you for joining me. If you'd like to donate to this great network, $ began to 129 Cash App. All stickers and chats are welcome. Thank you, Linda. Hope you all had a great weekend. Later, I will give my commentary pertaining to my opinion in this case. You're entitled to agree or disagree. Either way, all participants in the storyline are no longer living, for those who do not know of this story. So you have to decide or not decide. It doesn't matter if you care or don't care. Should these people be suing the Moab Police Department for the incident that was viewed around the world of the two being interrogated or spoken with by the police due to an altercation between the two decedents? Are they at fault? Should these officers be blamed? Should the police department have to bear a witness to this information, be brought up in a civil suit as complicit to this altercation? Should they be blamed, this department and the officers, for that incident? Are the parents saying that the incident is what led up to the child's death? I do not know. I will play this audio and we'll see where it goes from there. Thank you for joining me.
Then we'll give you 10 minutes with the step-parents of Gabby Petito. I've asked them not to comment on specific evidence, but you are free to ask questions, and they're free to comment on why they're bringing this lawsuit and what their feelings are. Let me begin with just a brief opening statement to set the stage. Gabby Petito's parents have asked the law firms of Parker and McConkie and Zimmerman Brewer to represent them in a lawsuit against the Moab police for their negligent failure to first understand the law and enforce it, and second, for the wrongful death of their daughter. In this regard, this morning we have filed a notice of claim, which is the first step in initiating future litigation. Gabby's parents are bringing this lawsuit to honor Gabby's legacy by working to save the lives of victims of domestic violence throughout the United States and the world. This lawsuit is only one part of a broader effort to raise awareness of intimate partner violence and its potential dangers. They have set up the Gabby Petito Foundation. This foundation has already donated hundreds of thousands of dollars to groups focusing on intimate and domestic violence, including a $100,000 donation last week to the National Domestic Violence Hotline, which I'm sure you're aware of. They hope their efforts to help will save lives and give meaning to the senseless, avoidable, and tragic murder of their daughter. Brian?
Good morning, and thank you for being here. As my partner Jim said, my name is Brian Stewart, and I'm grateful to be with you today and grateful for your attention to this important case. I will just say that at the outset that the purpose of this lawsuit is just one part of the family's broader effort to raise awareness and education to protect victims of domestic violence, and to help make sure that our governmental institutions are held to account and that they are given the resources and training that they need to do their jobs in the effective way that they would want to, and to do it in a way that protects the most vulnerable members of our society and will prevent tragedies such as this one from happening again. Our purpose in filing the lawsuit, and the family wants to be clear about this, is not to punish individual officers, but is to honor the efforts of dedicated police officers. And while it is tough to do, we feel a responsibility to support them by demanding that changes needed.
When you order delivery. Sorry about that. Wasn't expecting that commercial. Thank you all. Hear you say. Oh, Lord. It's like one after the other. Mercy. Trying to catch them in time. Thank you all. Sorry about that.
To help them do their job better will be accomplished.
Hello, everybody in the chat.
The only
Thank
effective
you.
way to correct these problems is to hold our institutions accountable for their failures, including in law enforcement. But as we said, this is just part of a larger effort to help other people and other victims of domestic violence understand that there are resources and that there are helps available, and that they can rely on those and rely on the response of law enforcement. The family will tell you, but they, throughout this last year, have been received many messages from victims of domestic violence who have told their stories of how they were inspired to get out of dangerous situations and to protect themselves and to seek out resources. And again, while it's difficult to do these things for the family, they feel a responsibility to honor Gabby's legacy by doing this work. And now I will take any questions you may have about, I guess, what we're doing today. And if you have any questions about the purpose of the lawsuit or the procedure of the law.
Why don't these officers qualify for governmental immunity under the law?
There is a governmental immunity statute in Utah, and we believe that these officers were negligent, and that their negligence contributed to the cause of Gabby's death. And we believe that the law in Utah there's some conflict in terms of the governmental immunity statute and the Utah Constitution's protection of the right to bring causes of action for wrongful death. The Utah Constitution says that right shall not be infringed, and that is the supreme law on the subject in Utah. Yes?
Be more specific in terms of what they did. About each other side story that the police made the judgment. What did they do wrong?
Well, I again don't want to get into specifics of what happened that day. There's a lot of information that has been made available, but there's much information that is not yet available publicly. But I will say that we do agree with the findings of the investigative report that the officers failed to recognize the serious danger that she was in and failed to investigate fully and properly. They did not have the training that they needed to recognize the clear signs that were evident that morning, that Gabby was a victim and that she was in serious need of immediate help. It was also clear from the officers themselves and the findings of the report that they did not understand the law and did not apply the law properly in Gabby's situation. Yes.
It looks like this child's notice of intent in the circumstances in the lawsuit shows filing waivers are responsible for filing a lawsuit.
A notice of intent or a notice of claim is required by by the statute in order to bring a case against the government in Utah. That is a precursor to being able to file a lawsuit. That typically happens a year before, before the year anniversary of a loss. In this case, Gabby's interaction with Moab City Police Department was on August 12th, 2021. And unfortunately, the time of her actual death is unknown, but we're filing that notice now to comply with that requirement. The government can reply or not reply, and then after a time period, the plaintiff is allowed to go ahead with making their claim by filing a lawsuit.
What is that time period?
Well, it depends on whether or not the government responds, but they have 60 days to respond. If they deny the claim earlier, then the time for filing begins earlier.
Is there any evidence known that Moab police is not working forward that you guys are aware of?
I'm not going to comment on more information in terms of the evidence, but the FBI has extensive information that was collected throughout the search for Gabby that has not yet been released, although their investigation has been deemed to be completed. Any others? Okay.
Okay, thank you, Brian. And Dick Baldwin at the end there came in, and he's the representative from the Zimmerman Brewer law firm. We're glad you're here this morning. Now, if you'd like to ask for just a couple of minutes, any questions from the family about why they're bringing this lawsuit and what their feelings are, please feel free to address your questions to anyone on the screen there. Yes.
For Natalie, I noticed that you're very emotional this morning. What's going through your head? What's kind of situation you're feeling right now? Nicole, sorry, thank you. That's okay. This is just bringing back a lot of pain. Sorry. We just want to help people. We're going to do whatever we can. And that's why we're here.
Yes, go ahead.
Another one for you, Nicole. You and the Gabby Petito Foundation have spent almost the last year raising awareness of domestic violence and for missing persons. Do you have any message today for people who are victims of these abusive relationships?
About just reach out when you can and get the help that you need. You're better than that, and you can get out. Just do it safely. Reach out to someone that you trust. I don't know. I'm sorry, guys. I'm just so emotional today. I know everybody else wants to help me answer that.
There's a ton of resources out there. We partnered with the National Domestic Victims Hotline through our foundation. They do amazing work as well as many other organizations out there. There's a ton of people out there that are willing to help. We're there trying to help. It's anonymous. Get the help you need, do it quickly, do it safely, do it the right way, and reach out to the experts. So you can get the help you get yourself into a safe place. That is our goal.
People care. We care. There are people that care, and everyone out there should know that there are people that will do whatever we can to help. And that's it. You know, people care, and just know it, and reach out. We'll be there.
Yes, back there.
Yeah, I have a question for either parent, but do you feel like things were stacked against you in the very beginning? From law enforcement to Ryan, Florida, everything, wrap it up.
What I know is that she's not here. Yeah, so no, I'm not going to answer that, to be honest with you. It's not about them right now.
There's average and there's over the top, basic and mind blowing.
Sorry about that. Super loud. Interesting.
Yes, go ahead.
So I know you're not supposed to comment on things in the lawsuit, but I'm assuming that you have seen the video of the interaction in Moab. And is there anything you can tell me about how you felt watching that and what you wish you could have done or any feelings associated with that?
I think that I've said this many times, watching it is very painful, and I wanted to jump to the screen and rescue her. That's all I can really say about that.
Okay, let's take one more question out there. Yes, it's back.
Yeah, what do you want the public to remember? Yeah, how do you want us to remember?
I love that question. Go ahead, Joe.
Use her story, learn from it. There's so much you can take from it. Her legacy is to help people, that don't see a way out, and there are. And use her as the light that she was to us, and proper planning and safety and people that care. Just start. You're worth it.
Thank you.
I'd like to add
Go
a little bit
ahead.
on that.
Yes, go ahead.
As parents, we can never fully wrap our heads around the entire situation and what happened. But all we can hope is that Gabby's legacy and her memory will be a positive one. That through our tragedy and all the heartache that we go through daily, there's not a day that goes by that we're not talking about her, thinking about her. But her legacy to be one that is long lasting and positive and helps people. And the people see her and they recognize her and can possibly compare maybe what they're going through in their life and see it and make a positive change in their life to be better so it doesn't happen to them. So they're not in the same place that we are right now.
Thank you, Gabby's parents, for being available today via Zoom. We appreciate your presence here. We're honored to file this lawsuit on your behalf and try to bring about justice and meaning in this situation and help others recognize the danger signs and help others see how they can escape from situations that are difficult and tragic. Now, thank you, members of the press, for being here today. We appreciate your presence. In the coming months, we'll be filing a complaint. The Petitos will be in Utah at that time so that you can have freer access to them. And we will let you know in a couple of months when we're filing that legal document. Thank you for being here.
All right, everybody, that's now finally come to fruition. Fox 13 is the source of this Tampa Bay. I'm going to play you one more commentary. Then I will go into my, give you my opinion. Gabby Petito's family sue Moab police. ABC Action News is the source. Thank you so much for joining me. Let's get this started here. All righty, just a second. This was uploaded 2 days ago. So now everything's come to fruition. So they should possibly be in Utah now to file this suit.
Department. This is body cam footage at the center of their claims.
It shows Gabby and her fiance, Brian Laundrie, interacting with officers. Police were investigating a fight between the couple just weeks before Gabby's death.
And our Julie Solomon has been following this case from the very beginning. Julie, what do Gabby's parents believe that this footage reveals about the actions of the police department there?
Well, Wendy, the family of Gabby Petito says they want to hold law enforcement accountable. Their attorney said today the officers were not properly trained to recognize the signs of domestic violence and failed to follow state law.
What's going on? How can we cry?
Body camera footage from August of 2021 shows Moab police interacting with Gabby Petito and her fiance, Brian Laundrie. The footage is at the center of a lawsuit filed by Petito's parents. The lawsuit alleges officers did not follow Utah state law when it comes to domestic violence, and they mislabeled Gabby as the aggressor when she was the victim.
The signs and symptoms were there when the police interviewed Gabby.
This is their attorney speaking.
But they were not acted upon,
McConkey.
even though Utah law required it.
The lawsuit also alleges one of the officers involved in the
Let me go back. Let me repeat that
the
again.
aggressor when she was the victim.
The signs and symptoms were there when the police interviewed Gabby, but they were not acted upon, even though Utah law required it.
The lawsuit also alleges one of the officers involved in the traffic stop is a domestic abuser himself and has used authority and threats of physical violence to control and intimidate sexual partners, making that officer biased as he handled the investigation involving Brian and Gabby.
The department failed to properly hire and screen applicants for officers.
Ultimately, no charges were filed and officers allowed the couple to separate for the night. Petito's remains were discovered weeks later outside Grand Teton National Park in Wyoming. Brian confessed to killing Gabby in a note discovered near his body in a Sarasota County park. The city of Moab sent a statement that reads in part, "The attorneys for the Petito family seem to suggest that somehow our officers could see into the future based on this single interaction. In truth, on August 12th, no one could have predicted this tragedy that would occur weeks later and hundreds of miles away." Gabby's family says officers failed to see their daughter was in a life-threatening situation.
She could have been protected that day. There are laws put in place to protect victims, and those laws were not followed. And we don't want this to happen to anybody else.
The city says its officers acted with kindness, respect, and empathy as they interacted with Gabby. For the city's full statement, visit abcactionnews.com. Live in the studio, Julie Solomon, ABC Action News.
Julie, thank you. Meanwhile, Gabby Petito's tragic death last year shined a new light on domestic violence. Many believe she suffered in silence from verbal, emotional, and physical abuse at the hands of her boyfriend, Brian Laundrie. And we showed that video from the Moab Police Department to local advocates who provide help to domestic violence survivors. And recently I spoke to the CEO of the Spring of Tampa Bay about signs victims need to look for in order to stay out of danger. Their CEO says there was a red flag in the way that Gabby described her fight with Laundrie. Take a listen.
He put her hands up at one point like this, and how he had put his hands around her face. You know, that I think was a missed opportunity too, because it would have been a natural segue for the officers to ask, has he ever put his hands around your neck before? Has he ever put his hand over your mouth? Has he ever attempted to restrict your airflow?
Mindy Murphy also added a victim is 7.5 times more likely to be murdered by an abusive partner if he's attempted to strangle or choke her. To see the other red flags, the Spring says this video reveals. Click on this story on our website at abcactionnews.com.
Okay. I want to go back because there's a picture. Let's see. There's something I wanted to see. It looked like they were holding hands. Hold on.
It was a missed opportunity too, because it would have been a natural segue for the officers to ask.
Thank you all for
has he ever
joining me.
put his hands around your neck
There's
before?
something I'm trying to look at. Hold on. Thank you for joining me. I hate looking at little small screens. Can't tell everything. Okay, they weren't holding hands. Okay. Seem a bit distant. Let me see. 1 second. I'm going to join you guys just a minute. I'm trying to look at something. Body language. which in the end, it doesn't really matter now. At the end of this video, please go to my community board. ABC Action News is this source uploaded 2 days ago. You'll see the two walking in the parking lot. He's kind of lollygagging. She's behind him. I was trying to see if they were holding hands or not. They're not. They look like they probably weren't speaking. I'm wondering if this was after the incident and maybe they were going somewhere, hotel, wherever. I'm not really sure. It just shows them in a parking lot. I don't know the date of that footage. This information I've played for you doesn't specify. I'm going to say this. So I have a lot of things to try to reiterate. No one wants their child battered and bruised, I would assume, because everybody's different. But if she didn't tell anybody, that was her choice. A lot of people do not like to share their personal businesses with other people. So therefore, there's nothing you can do, because that's the thing about hindsight. You can't go back. She didn't want to tell anyone. Why not? Why didn't she tell her parents? Why didn't she call her parents to say, hey, we had a dispute. I need somebody to come meet me, fly out here, whatever. She didn't do that because she still had feelings for the young man. That is why many people end up deceased. It's because, one, they do not leave. And that's something everybody needs to accept pertaining to this case. Her parents need to accept that. They are, to me, in denial about what happened. Okay, everybody, calm down, please. Just calm down. The point is, you can't make somebody do something. One, you can't address a situation when you don't even know that there's a problem. Two, people don't like people in their business. I've said it 1,000 times. You can't make somebody tell you something. You're just seeing the fallout from video footage. But let's be truthful. These people obviously had no idea that these two had a problem. So you're only seeing captions of them at this place with officers. Now, say it again. She didn't tell anybody that we know of. So I'm going to ask, did she tell somebody? Tell a friend? In the end, it will not matter because she stayed. He stayed. When he went to Florida for whatever reason, he came back for whatever reason. How many times had he been violent? I do believe he was violent with her. I believe they both interchanged with one another due to the fact she did admit in this commentary, in that video, of hitting him. She has OCD. He's a downer. He wasn't supporting her. See, all the signs were there that these two were not evenly meshed, but she stayed anyway. And we as people do that. We see that people are not supportive of us. We see that they're verbally abusive, physically abusive. We're interchanging back with them. Some do, some don't. You know that you two aren't meant to be, but you stay anyway. That's the gist of this story, is that two people decided to stay together regardless. It was recommended they separate, yet they reconvene. That was a choice. Had they arrested her, you would have had a problem with that. She still would have ended up deceased, because if that's what he wanted to do, that's what he did. There was no restraining order. This is an incident that happened at a house where they told the person to leave. She went and filed a restraining order, got it signed by the judge. That doesn't even apply to the situation. But even in those situations, if a person wants to still connect to you, find you, talk to you, they will. You can't control the human mind. And that's what everybody's trying to do in this situation. You're trying to control something that was going to happen irregardless. There's no control in this situation because there are two people who decided to be together. And that's something her parents need to accept. You are never going to be able to move on from Gabby's death until you accept the fact that, one, they chose each other. Two, they chose to stay with each other. Three, they fought each other, argued each other, knew each other's ways and still stayed. separated at this incident and still reconnected. So it was going to happen anyway. The universe said so. And they can't accept that. And I get it. You're angry. You're mad. You're mad at their parents, his parents. You felt like they aided him in some way or form. They had knowledge. Once again, you're going to have to prove that in a civil suit. And how are you going to prove it? You'd have to have documentation. They knew he killed the girl. He admitted he killed the girl. He admitted, I'm going to go kill myself. I'm going out here to the marsh to kill myself. You have to have proof. This is a very tragic situation, but the situation happens all the time. That's what people need to understand. These people are looking for somebody to blame. And this is what we do sometimes. We're angry. We're mad at the world. We're mad at the circumstances. We're mad at the people in the story. And what they really admit to the public, I'm mad at my daughter because she chose this bloke. She stayed with him. Whoever the aggressor is or was, it doesn't even matter because both stayed. They both were free thinkers, had free will. And this is the reason why many people end up battered, damn near dead, because they didn't leave. And you can try to leave and still get killed. Threaten to leave and get killed. Leave and get killed. Because in the end, you do not have control over another person's mindset. You can have a restraining order, have no contact with the perpetrator. Don't call, don't answer calls, don't visit, don't let him visit or her visit, and still they can find you, hurt you, hurt your family, hurt your friends, hurt your children. That's the point of the story. He was going to hurt her regardless. That's obvious. You're fighting over here. Witnesses say you're fighting in front of a storefront. Now, okay, I think that came after this incident. Now you're fighting with to where you're driving erratic. The police are talking to you. You can hear in her conversation, because I'm looking at it on the screen, they were not evenly meshed. He didn't even support her. She says it. He doesn't think I can do this. So he let her know, I don't believe in this YouTube thing or whatever it is you're trying to do, van life, whatever. So really, he was just going along with the flow. But she had to have seen the signs, and things were awry before they even got out there. I refuse to believe they woke up and started fighting on this trip. And of course, you know, that's an old saying. Oh, that's when you learn how people are, is when you move in with them and when you take a long trip with them. Either way, New York, Florida, wherever the hell they were living, she saw signs in him that she didn't like. He saw signs in her he didn't like. I don't know them from a can of paint. But when she spoke those words to the officer in the video, he's a downer. She told on herself right there. He ain't supporting me. He don't like what I'm doing. He's not supporting what I'm doing. I got goals. I got dreams. All she had to do was call her parents and tell them, I'm stuck out here. Excuse me. I'm stuck out here. I can't drive long distance. Can you meet me halfway? I need somebody to drive me back to this place, that place. That's all she had to do. And I do believe when he went back to Florida, he was putting in motion to murder her. That's my personal opinion. Because there was no reason for a person to fly back halfway across the country because of some storage unit issue. That's the most asinine thing I've ever heard. You could overnight a key to somebody to go in the storage unit to get things out or put something in. So that's bullshit. I do believe the trip to Florida was a ruse. He was planning to get rid of her. I do believe that. Because nobody does that. Just jump on a plane and go back somewhere to just clear out a storage unit or put something in it, then fly back. And then you already not getting along with somebody. He should have just flew back to Florida and stayed down there. Hey, this isn't working out. I like you, but we're not getting along. I think he just decided, fuck it. I'm going to rid myself of her. But he foolishly did so, because who does such a thing and then bring the person's van back? See, all that to me is crazy, but that's not really the subject because that's past tense, it's over with. But the parents need a scapegoat. They can't blame the daughter, she's dead. The boyfriend, he's dead. Can't find him to punch him, knock him around. I need somebody to blame for my child's decision. I need somebody to blame because this man killed my daughter. I can't shake either one of them. They're not here. And the fact that she never told anybody should tell you something about her personality. She didn't want possibly the shame of people knowing that she stayed with somebody that was abusing her or verbally abusive to her, and that she interacted. I don't know who was the primary aggressor. In the end, it doesn't matter. You're still a willing participant in the bullshit. You know you shouldn't be cursing at people, arguing with people nonstop, verbally abusive, putting your hands on them, then putting their hands on you. It's a two-way street. Each participating. Quite frankly, the police gave both of them the choice to get out of the situation. And they chose not to. Because either way, they were going to be together. They say that this was avoidable, her lawyers. By whom, sir? How is this avoidable? They didn't arrest her. They didn't arrest him. They still reconnected. So that means they wanted to be together. They missed the warning signs. Well, what were the signs? She's telling her truth, allegedly. He's telling his truth. The point is, she never told you that her life was in danger. And that is what the parents' lawyers are claiming. You should have known. No, they shouldn't have. Because I can only go by what you tell me. And this is what I keep trying to explain to people about true crime in any type of situation. The police only knows the version you give or what they can assess at that time. At that time. I don't know no more than what you tell me. Okay? Had they arrested her, she would have been upset. The parents would have been upset. Had he got arrested, he would have been even more angry and probably still 99.9 killed the girl. Told you all to separate, yet you did not. Afterwards, you reconvened. You went your little way for how long, but you got back together because she was scared out there in the middle of nowhere. He's her driver. Stay woke. She could have ditched him easily, but she did not. The chance was there. Since some may want to blame the police, he basically gave them an avenue to get gone. And they chose not to. This was a prime example of, okay, wake up call. We are not getting along. The police has been involved now. What else can go bump in the night? Let me call my parents and get some help. That's what should have happened. She should have called one of her family members to help her, meet her. She returned back to Florida, go back to that house, get her things, and get out of those people's home. But she did not do that. What did you all expect the police officers to do that they did not do according to the Utah law? I'm confused. What was the law? The law says what? They should have been arrested. For what? If nobody looks battered or beat up, why is anybody going to get arrested? Maybe he had a few scratches or so. But if she's downplaying the situation, he's downplaying the situation, which many abusers do, because many want to say that he's the abuser. You're entitled to your opinion. They didn't. We can't go back. She had the opportunity to say, I fear for my safety. I want him away from me. Please, I want to take my van somewhere to meet my parents. Call my parents to meet me. I'm not a driver. I can't drive all the way back to Florida, New York, wherever. That was her opportunity because they spoke to each one separately. And that's what they do. So you can't say they didn't speak to them separately. They did. Body cam and all. She's telling this officer, basically, we're not evenly meshed. I get OCD, I get stressed out. So maybe she was telling on herself, when I get stressed, I get upset, I start tripping out, flipping out, I start, reacting physically, verbally. So they told them to separate. I'm just trying to understand what else did you want them to do? Because like I said, either way, you all, even today, she would be dead. You still would be complaining, well, why'd you arrest my daughter? Then you'd be suing for the unlawful arrest plus the lawsuit. I'm just confused. Because you don't want to put blame on the two people who were together. Because in the end, you can't take this back because they were grown. These are not children who were bickering. These are grown people who decided to date each other, travel together. As I said, how is this avoidable? You would have been disgusted if she got arrested. He'd been disgusted more if he got arrested. He definitely would have had a reason to lash out at the girl in his mindset. He still would have killed her. They both went back together after separating. She decided to stay with him. It was her choice. Did she know he would kill her? Could she have known he was going to kill her? Did they fight often? It was inevitable that she would be murdered by Brian Laundrie. I think it's obvious. Why stay? You know someone's abusing you. Why do you stay? Only the person can answer that. Only the parties involved can answer why they would stay with one another. And that's not just Petito and Laundrie. That's all of us. We all deal with people we have no business dealing with. Calling, texting, wanting to be with them, wanting to see them when we don't get along with them. We don't mesh. But there's some sick part of us that wants to be a part of this person. Codependency, boredom. Maybe you don't think you can get anybody else. Maybe you don't want to try again with somebody else. Afraid of being alone. Many reasons people stay with people they don't get along with. Abusive relationships, verbal abuse. It is a choice. This bad cop syndrome. He was an abuser himself. Well, that's the police department's problem. They should have known he was an abuser. That has nothing to do with this case, does it? Because you should have already known that. So isn't it interesting that when something goes bump in the night, you see this with so many cases of cop brutality, cop murdering their girlfriends, wives, all of a sudden that comes up. Oh, they had all these infractions for being aggressive with the public, getting drunk, this and that. Well, you know what? Those things should have been obvious when they were on the force. So how convenient you want to mention that after they've beat up somebody, killed somebody, excessive force, and in this case, the man has murdered the woman. Somebody knew that, and you didn't do anything about it. But I get it. They now know about his past. Oh, he shouldn't have been a cop. Well, guess what? There's a lot of people that shouldn't be doing a lot of things. But they are because they know how to pass the psych test. Nobody's going to write on a test when you have multiple questions. Should you A, B, C, D do this? Naturally, we're going to answer the appropriate box. How do you diffuse a situation between a argument with another party. Nobody's going to pick the one that says, oh, B, I'm going to beat their brains out. All of this is about choice. And as far as the bad cop syndrome, that was a choice to allow this cop to be on the force. Nobody told you to allow him to be on the force if you knew that he had been abusing his wife or girlfriend. That was something going on before the Petito laundry scenario and murder. So you all were at fault for not handling that beforehand. How long had the abuse been going on between the two? As I said, they fought at a store. That was mentioned during that time the child was missing, the young woman, excuse me. And that showed us that these two were troubled together, that they had a lot going on, and that in the end, she chose not to tell anyone, to my knowledge. I don't know. I only go by what the news has reported. She decided not to tell her parents. She never called them for help. She could possibly be alive today had she left him, but she did not. And I do believe she saw the signs that he was abusive. She possibly was abusive with him as well. I don't know why she would be hitting him while he's driving, because somebody's driving, speeding down the road. Me hitting them is not going to be a good idea, because you're already driving fast. Now you're bobbling, weaving on the road. To wonder the truck didn't flip. Because what if he had reached out and hit her? Then his eyes are off the road. He could have slammed into somebody, killed somebody, all because you two are arguing. So you have to think about all the worst case scenarios. They were not meshed. And that's just the bottom line. Thank you, Red. You can't tell people how to live. You can't tell people what to do. You can't do anything. Once you get knowledge, you can say something. But in the end, it's their choice if they want to stay with the person. They want to date the person, marry the person. Excuse me. What could have been done? How is this avoidable? Abusive cop or not? Did he tell her to leave? Did he tell her, hey, he didn't hit you, you're making it up, you're imagining it? I'd have to go back and watch it again. I don't remember hearing any of that kind of talk. But if she told her that she had hit him, naturally they talked to him. They could have asked him, I can't remember all the details. So that's been a while watching the video. Hey, you want to press charges? Naturally, he didn't want her to get in trouble, because I think he said that. I don't want to get her in trouble. He wanted to get in trouble. That's what people are missing. They wanted to be together. Because in the end, they weren't expecting to be pulled over. Bingo card. They weren't expecting to be pulled over. They weren't expected to be asked what the hell's going on inside of this car. They didn't think that was going to happen. And it's no telling what was said and done when everybody went their separate way. She went to her little space. He went to his little space. And then when the two reconvened, what was said? What happened? And what happened on that fateful day that he hurt her? Killed her. I'm sure it was very terrifying what she went through. And I'm sure in the midst of her fighting for her life, she probably thought all I had to do was just walk away, but I didn't. And that's a hell of a time to ponder on your past indiscretions. It's while somebody is hurting you, choking you, suffocating you, shooting you, stabbing you. If only I had him left. She had the means to leave. She obviously was a go-getter, worked, was doing her YouTube platform. She had supportive parents. Unlike some young people, they don't have any parents to support them. Many people end up deceased. They don't have anybody rallying on TV for them. Don't have any step-parents rallying for them. She had an entire entourage, plus a nation rallying for her, and people abroad. Many women are not fortunate to have anybody. And that's the most interesting thing about this story, is that after the fact, these people are suing Moab and was attempting to sue the Laundries, but yet these are the same people she decided not to tell that she was abused and not happy. Or was she happy? I don't know. You can't be happy if somebody doesn't support you. That's not a good feeling. And possibly he wasn't a goal-driven person. So see, that's why you have to pick people who are of a like mind. You have similar interests. Because see, a Debbie Downer ain't going to work for somebody that's trying to be on the up and up and maintain and succeed in life and have goals and want to do things. I don't care what it is, singer, dancer, athlete, want to start a business. If they're not on board, it's probably not going to work in your relationship. I think you know that. And only time will tell if the business or the aspiration will come to fruition. And maybe that person don't want to sit around and wait to see what it's going to be. That's why you have to make a sound decision about the people that you slumber with. Well, he ain't supporting me. I got to go. Well, she's doing some stuff I ain't into, and she ain't my type. They both could have called it quits, and both of them will possibly be alive today had they just moved on. This problem had been going on between the two for some time. I do not know how long, but it's obvious. She was wearing the tears of a clown, laughing and smiling in YouTube videos, TikTok videos, IG, what young people do, what a lot of people do, take a lot of selfies and smile and tell you what they're doing today and where they're going and what they ate. But deep down inside, when they turn the camera off, shit is fucked up. That's everybody. Everybody don't go live talking about what happened with the dog and the cat and what they said to the parent and the brother and the sister and the neighbor and the lover and the husband and the wife. He said this, he pissed me off, he made me mad. I feel like stabbing him, or I feel like killing him. I feel like pushing him down a flight of stairs. Who's going to tell that on the live? Nobody. Because something happens to him, you're the first person they're looking at. You see that live where she said she wanted to push him down the stairs? Well, girl, he dead now. Of course not. Don't tell him. This is disturbing. Because I believe prevention started with the two, not Moab. Moab is just the icing on the cake. They need somebody to blame. And I get it. You're upset that your daughter chose him. You're upset at the laundries because you feel like they withheld information. But in the end, the decision was made between the two. They chose each other. That has nothing to do with Moab. It has nothing to do with the Moab officers. Because in the end, when they went their separate way, they still reconnected even after that incident with the police, which should have scared the shit out of both of them, but it didn't. So you put that on paper. Even after being confronted by law enforcement, they still remained together up until her death. And Brian and Gabby should have known we can no longer do this. Because what about the next time? Sorry about that. Didn't mean to show that. I was trying to block it out. This is what's sick. This is what's sick. The people every day go through what these two young people went through. And I'm sure there's family that knows what happened. They hear the stories, people coming back telling them, oh, you know, he beat her up, she beat him up, they slashed her tires, all the crazy stories you hear with domestic violence. But in the end, you can scream, holler, threaten your kids. It's their choice. They want to be with that person. But one thing I would tell my child, please don't carry the bone to me. Because you cannot expect me to be understanding of a volatile situation. And that's where people get it mistaken. And that's when they stop talking about the abuse or at all. They know people are not going to condone it. So they know, ain't no need of carrying them this because they ain't gonna do nothing but tell me to leave and I ain't ready to go yet. See, that's why people don't tell. Because they know they're not at that point of leaving. So why go stir the pot by telling somebody he beat me up, he pulled my hair, or I get so angry I want to beat him up, or I punch him occasionally? Because you know people are going to say, well, why are you doing that? Why are you living like that? So then you know next time, there can't be a next time to go back and tell somebody this because you already know what they're going to say. Well, why are you putting up with that? Why are you dealing with that? You're better than that. You deserve better than that. You know better. You know not to be fighting someone, letting somebody fight you, hit you, talk down to you. And then you have people who don't mind telling the story every day. Yeah, he did this. She did this. And the thing people don't understand about that is it's not that people don't want to be supportive, but at some point it gets old hearing the same story told to you, especially when it's negative. It's just a jacked up situation. It just is. And I believe her parents are looking for a scapegoat. And you can't use these people. Because like I said, you would have been disgusted had they arrested your child. Because that would have been the first thing you would have been saying even now. Because I got a feeling she still would be deceased. She still would have wanted to be with him even if she had gotten arrested. He still would have flocked to her. The outcome would have still been the same. And he really would have had a reason to be angry had he got arrested. So I believe you still would be looking for a scapegoat if either one had gotten arrested. Exactly. She's not coming back. And what he did was wrong because he knew better. He didn't have to hurt her. He didn't have to stay with her, and she didn't have to stay with him. They both made a sound choice to be together. And we all make mistakes in being with people who are volatile, or we're volatile with them, however it goes. But yet we hang in there anyway. Because we all need to check ourselves. We need to start owning our shit. As they say in the street, tighten your shit. We do. Own our part. We can live better if we own our part. Hey, this ain't working out. This guy we don't mesh. I don't like the way he talks to me. I'm now starting to pop off and trip and flip out. I don't like the person I'm becoming with this person, vice versa. We're not evenly yoked. We don't see eye to eye. We don't agree on basic information, basic situations. That's when you know. Well, Amanda, it's easy to just blame somebody, see. But you have to understand that you didn't know anything until the pop-off. This girl and this guy have been doing this with each other, and obviously nobody knew or nobody cared to try to, intervene to say, hey, you need to leave him alone, blah, blah, blah. But like I said, even if you knew of it, they were the two holding the cards. They were going to be together regardless. So in the end, you all are really mad at Brian and Gabby, not Moab. But you can't say that because that would be a horrible thing to say. I'm mad at my child because she stayed. I'm mad at him for killing her. You're mad at both. Because in your deepest hour, your quiet hour, you think that. Why did she stay with him? Why didn't she just leave him? Nobody's ever going to admit that. I wish she had left. Because they don't want to seem like they're being judgmental of their own child. But that's a normal thing to ask. Question, why did she stay? Why did he stay? It's a two-way street. It's not just about her. It's about him too. He had a part in it. There's no way I could think that he was happy with her. He couldn't have been. He couldn't have been. Because when you're not supporting somebody, you're not getting along, how could you possibly say you're happy? You may say that out loud to others because you don't want them to really know the truth that you're not happy with that person. I think they're like a lot of people. They just ride the ride until something jumps off. And sadly, it was a death of two, not just one, but two. He killed himself, took the coward's way out, very cowardly way. That's why I said, why even kill her if you're going to go kill yourself? All you had to do was leave her alone. One of you had left the other one and meant it. That means the other one would have to have moved on. Because you can't make a person want you. This is a tragedy times 20. And as far as the lawyer speaking of what can be done better, the result will still be the same. If you want your police officers to coddle people, it's not going to work. Maybe you should say, tell them the ugly truth. You two keep acting like this, one of you is going to end up dead. How about that? Is that what you want the cops to say from now on? One of you is going to end up in jail. One of you is going to pop off from being in jail. One of you is going to end up dead. Stop the foolishness. Do you think it would work if the cops talk to people that way? Just tell them the ugly truth. Should they have that on a card? The statistics of death of people who continue to stay in violent relationships? Maybe they should. Have the state statistics of how many people end up dead in volatile relationships from fighting, arguing? Would that help? Because when the lawyer says avoidable, we want to try to make sure nobody else ends up in this situation. Well, once again, it goes back to choice. Seeing the signs early on that you two are not compatible will possibly save a life. Because when you start out in the beginning early, and I don't mean no 1 year, I don't even mean no 6 months. I mean early when you see signs. First time they start downing you, got criticism, pushing, shoving, spitting, outright hitting, punching, run like hell. The very first time. And some people say, well, they didn't get abusive till year 1, year 2. I got a funny feeling nobody just wakes up and punches a person. No way I believe a person just woke up, just started beating you down. You would have had to do something real nasty for somebody just out of the blue start punching you. But you do hear the stories. I didn't see no signs. Everything was fine for about a year or 2, and then he just started acting crazy, and he was getting mad, and maybe so. Every situation is different. But the point is, a lot of times people show you their card in the beginning, and it starts very subtle, or sometimes it's very overt. Either way, the very first time you hear criticism, verbal abuse, name calling, pushing, shoving, choking, hair pulling, outright beat down, run like hell. Ain't no need in trying to fix it, trying to figure out why. Just run like hell, block, delete. Don't answer the phones. You got to hide your car somewhere, put it up somewhere. Do whatever you have to do to preserve life. Make it hard for them to get anywhere to find you. Then they realize, well, I can't reach them. I don't know how to find them. Hopefully they'll move on. And pray they don't do it to somebody else. Dreamcatcher, who are you addressing to? Thank you, Sam. I'm trying to figure out who Dreamcatcher is addressing their comments to. Obviously not talking to me. Because I know everything's a choice. What happened in Moab, that had been going on. That's obvious. Well, that's the whole point, is that they, a lot of people do see the signs. People own stuff to themselves. They don't have to own it to you or anybody else, because that's the whole point. I don't have to tell you, yeah, I know I don't need to be with this person. So you can't speak for everybody. There are people who actually see the signs that they're with somebody abusive. You've heard people say it to people. Yeah, I know he's mean, she's mean, but I love them. Well, they're owning it. They see it, but they're choosing to stay. There's a difference. It's a difference. That's one thing about self, is that you know when you're doing something you don't have no business. You know when you are in it too deep, but you continue to stay because you talk to yourself. Most of us do talk to ourselves. We just don't answer ourselves. But we know you have talks with yourself to say, I know I shouldn't be talking to this person. I know I shouldn't keep answering the phone. I know damn well there's people out here that see, but it's still their choice. You can't tell somebody what to do. People do what they want to do. Well, all I'm speaking on is just the basics, that everything's a choice. You're speaking for yourself, dream catcher. I'm just saying everybody's not the same. There are people who see the signs that they're with somebody abusive. And you're sitting here saying 20 years, you saying for 20 years you had low self-esteem. That's a difference. But you're not going to make me believe for 20 years you didn't see that they weren't abusive. Now, come on now. Confidence and seeing signs are two different things. I can see the signs that you're abusing me and I stay. And that's the thing about seeing the signs, not having confidence. I don't got to tell nobody how I feel. Why am I going to tell somebody that? This girl didn't want to tell anybody. And the reason why she didn't want to tell anybody, because she probably didn't want to be judged that she stayed with him. Because that's the first thing somebody's going to say to her. Well, why are you with them? Why are you staying? So to alleviate being judged, she doesn't say anything. Yeah, I believe they see it. I don't think nobody can tell me they don't see the signs they're being abused. Because a lot of people have admitted they saw the signs. They just stayed. There's a difference. I stayed. I stayed because I wanted to stay. You can make up excuses and say, I didn't see. I don't feel that way. But we lie to ourselves all the time. But like I said, I'm not here to argue either way because it's a choice to do what you want to do. If you want to stay with somebody that abuses you, that is your choice. I can't tell somebody they should leave because we all make mistakes and fool with people we don't have no business dealing with. It's a choice, though. Because to argue this with the police officers is, to me, a moot point. They gave them the option. They didn't arrest him. So to me, he was handing you a silver spoon. Hey, go think about this. So they had time to go sit and think, hey, should I be with this person or not? They didn't arrest us. Nobody got arrested. All you had to do was just go sit to yourself and think, hey, maybe I do need to call my parents or call somebody come get me because I don't want to be on this trip with this person. And this is not going the way I had anticipated. Each one could have bowed out, but they didn't. And that's why I'm not here to argue what they did and didn't do because it's a moot point. It's done. They decided to stay. There's no going back. They made a sound decision to be with each other. But I put up a poll. I'm going to read those results pertaining to this civil suit. Should Moab officers be blamed for last August 2021 incident between Gabby and Brian? 68% of you said yes. 33% of you said no. That was 80 votes. Are Petito family members using Gabby's death to gain monies? Yes, 25%. 75% of you said no. That was 105 votes. I'm going to read you the question, responses to that question. I haven't voted on this yet. This is from Donna. I haven't voted on this yet because I have a condition to my answer, which would be no, based on whether they are going to put this money to the Gabby Foundation or if they're going to use it for themselves. I know losing Gabby is a tragedy for them, but that's a lot of money. Then Queen 101 says, unfortunately, things don't change unless there's a reason to make things change, and losing a crap ton of money will make people change, so they are entitled to it. Okay. Kara says, absolutely not. They were done so wrong by Brian's family, and Brian, no, they are getting justice. Justice wasn't served because Brian took the chicken shit way out. Then Lat DA said, if they are, they're justified, but they aren't. There needs to be repercussions for bad actions. The cops were lazy and didn't follow protocol. And those were responses to my question of, are Petito family members using Gabby's death to gain monies? 75% of you said no. Interesting. Should Petito family sue Moab PD? I put do. Sorry about that. 70% of you said yes. 30% of you said no. 57 votes. Those were the last questions I put on my community post pertaining. So basically, 75% of you who voted do believe, 70% of you believe they should sue. 75% of you do not believe that they're using Gabby's death to gain money. And then I asked the first question, should Moab officers be blamed for the last August 21 incident between Gabby and Brian? And 68% of you said yes. Interesting. 80 votes. Wow. Mandy says not to blame. Somebody says, what use would it be to a foundation? Well, everybody, I guess some people feel like, well, if you're going to say you're trying to help people know the signs and help foundations with domestic abuse, some people may feel like, well, any money that they're getting, maybe they should donate some of the money if they're even entitled to get it. If the suit is even approved in court by a judge or 12 members of a jury, however it goes, you're entitled to your opinion. I'm not really on the fence with the lawsuit to Moab because I don't think it was anything harshly done. It'd be different if somebody was berating her, talking down to her, acting like they didn't care. But still, in the end, she was still going to meet up with him. That's the part. I don't know. Maybe I guess we all think differently. She still met up with him even after they told her, hey, go spend the night somewhere else to cool off. You two cool off. They didn't have to tell them that. They're saying Utah law says arrest them. But if you don't see any signs that somebody's being abused, why would you arrest them? Arrest any of them. And she even admitted that she was hitting him. They could have arrested her since she admitted to being the aggressor. So implement more info on body language and behavior. Well, Lisa, that's a trick situation too, because they both downplayed the situation. So if I got two people fighting and fussing, hitting each other, and they're both don't want the other one to get arrested. One saying they're high strung, OCD. The other one is saying, no, I don't want her arrested. We just had a minor disagreement. Where do I go from there as an officer if they're both downplaying the situation? The only way I would say that maybe possible somebody needs to go to jail if I saw visible marks on a person, such as strangulation marks, wrist marks. Then I could say, okay, where'd you get these? And if they went on and admitted and said, yeah, he did grab me here, there, then I could say, okay, well, I'd arrest him or her. But I do think the woman who was speaking in this commentary pertaining to when she was describing her throat, about him putting his hands around her neck or whatever, that was their opportunity to ask her, did he choke you, ma'am? And then waited for a response. I never said they should know the signs. I'm talking about the people involved. I'm talking about the people in the relationship know the signs that somebody's not right for them. I don't know what you're talking about. And stay out. Sounds stupid. I'm not talking about the police. I'm talking about a person being in a relationship, know the signs that things are not working in their relationship. I'm not talking about the police. They both had marks, but they only documented Brian's. Well, that's what I'm saying. That was on them to decide what they wanted to do with both of them. If the law said they were supposed to arrest them for domestic abuse if they saw the signs, then I'm saying that was their call. Obviously, they didn't want to. That's what I'm saying. Those officers made a call for whatever reason not to arrest the two or the other. And when you got two people downplaying it, like, well, it really wasn't a big deal. It was just a misunderstanding. That's the call they made. I just think if they're not like overt signs, such as like you've been strangled, you got cuts on your face, they're not going to do anything. And I do believe he told him he didn't want her to get in trouble. So they made that call. But the point is, like I said, if she had gotten arrested, she still would have bonded out and been with him. That's the part you all don't seem to understand. What was going to keep her away from him? Maybe I should ask that question. What is it that the police could have done that was going to keep these two people from being together? Let me make that a question. Because somehow some of you think if they had arrested either one, that was going to keep the two from being together. No, it was not. So they would have arrested both, let's say. They both went to jail, bonded out whenever, then what? Because now you're trying to speak for two dead people. And you can't speak for them because one, you don't know them and they're dead. Yes, think they would have met back up unless she had called her mom to pick her up. Well, y'all started, she could have called her anyway when they did separate. That's the point I'm trying to make in this commentary. Is that it would not have mattered if they arrested either one. It wouldn't have mattered if they arrested both. It wouldn't have mattered if they arrested one. The two would have still gotten back together. What is it that y'all don't understand about that? I'm not trying to argue this point because they're dead. And they obviously wanted to be together. That is the part of the story that nobody wants to accept. They wanted to be together. You want somebody to believe that these people were not arguing when they were in Florida? Come on now. They were been arguing. You don't wake up and start killing people. You just go on a trip and murder your girlfriend. Come on. Go home. He went home to hide evidence to get rid of her shit to make it look like she left. But that's where he fucked up because he brought her van back. He brought it back without her. Family can't reach her. Okay, something's up. She's not answering her phone. He did this all wrong because that's the whole point. He shouldn't have murdered her. When he saw the signs that, hey, this shit is getting heated with her, I need to carry my ass back home to Florida and tell her, hey, this relationship, this ain't working. That's all he had to do. That's all she had to do. But she's felt stuck for some reason with this kid. She's out in the middle of nowhere. She's not a driver. I don't want to drive home. I don't want to drive this long way back. But she could have called her parents. If they are so supportive as they claim to be, why didn't she call these people and say, hey, I'm stuck out here. This relationship is going sour. This is a bad trip. Please come get me. That's all she had to do. But the point is, that's not what she wanted to do, obviously. She didn't want to. So how is suing these people, these officers or this department going to bring her back? This is not a case of brutality. They're not even in the same jurisdiction. This isn't the cops beat her up, threw her around, manhandle her, spit on her. That didn't happen. So what is there to sue for? They handled it wrong. I believe if you, as I just said, had either one gotten arrested, the result would have been the same Because let me tell you, had he got arrested, oh, hell yeah, he'd been hot butter. Because you don't even know what they argued about or what led up to him murdering her. We don't know. We weren't there. Was he jealous of her, the jealous type? I don't know. Did she get mad at him about something? Push, shove him, hit him? Did he just pop off, hit her? Or did he just look at her and decided, I'm a choker? I don't know because I wasn't there. But the point is, if he had got arrested, oh, hell yeah, he would have went ham. He sure enough would have killed her. It's all because of you. I'm in this mess and I had to bond out, blah, blah, blah. And then he's out there stuck with her too, after bonding out. Lord have mercy. It would have been, I believe the results would have been the same. That's just my personal opinion. In some states, if one hits both, go to jail, even if you don't hit back. Well, that's my commentary. Feel free to check my community board for the said information with the source. I do not feel like there's any positive results going to come out of this. Whether they decide to retrain the officers, retrain all officers in Moab. The point is, it was their discretion not to arrest any of the parties. And I don't think it would have mattered had they arrested any of them, because I think it would only exacerbated what already happened with the two. It was inevitable. He was going to kill this girl, because you just don't wake up and think about killing another human being. I do believe these two had been fighting and fussing probably the duration of their relationship. And when she said that commentary that he's a downer, that told me a lot about their relationship. He was not a supporter of what she was doing. So they had tension. That's why she was saying, I've been stressed. I'm OCD. Because possibly she's trying to do this van life blog. Then she's got this guy who's not supportive. And she's trying to make it work, trying to fix something that is broke. It would not have mattered. Exactly. It was oil and water. He was going to do this anyway. And the fact that they already have them eyewitnesses saying they were fighting in front of that co-op store, that tells you everything you need to know. These kids did not just wake up fighting on that trip. What's the problem now? Yes, inevitable. That's obvious, because the proof is that there were eyewitnesses to another altercation in front of a store. And at this point, I do believe he was allegedly manhandling the young lady. So that tells you a lot. So you're talking about two incidents that are, one's on a body cam by the police. Others have attested that they were fighting. So you don't know what other fights they could have had on the trip that were seen and not seen and just not revealed to law enforcement. That led me to believe that these two had issues with each other that had nothing to do with Moab City or the police. They just were jacked up. They didn't get along well. And it didn't matter who was right, who was wrong. They just didn't get along. And they continued to date each other. And unfortunately, he killed her. And you can't make people stay together. So that's my commentary. That's my commentary pertaining to this lawsuit. The money is not going to bring her back. It'd be a difference if they had a restraining order. She had a restraining order. The judicial system let him out on bond or gave him permission to go back to a house where they stayed. Then I could see, where you could there's a trail left to say these people were negligent. But there was no restraining order. There's no verbal abuse from a cop to her, no manhandling of her by a police officer. They just didn't get arrested. That's the only thing that the law is saying they were supposed to do, allegedly. I don't know. Well, that's my said commentary pertaining to this case. I want to thank you all so much for joining me. If you have, if you'd like to have any verification for the information I played, it's on my community board. The original press conference was 2 months ago. It's on the community board. You can go back to the replay of this video to hear the press conference and what they're alleging against the police department. And also there's another audio I play pertaining to the actual lawsuit. This family, Petito family, and its entities are suing Moab Police Department for $50 million. You will hear the description of their claims inside of this video. Please feel free to take the polls that are on my community board pertaining to this situation. But those are my feelings. I don't see the point in suing them. I just don't. Because in the end, they did not. Thank you. Thank you, honey. Thank you so much. They didn't arrest him. And that's obviously what the lawyers are claiming, is that they didn't go by the law. And I'm trying to figure out if a person is admitting that they hit the person who ended up being the killer, then that means you're saying you wanted your own daughter arrested. So I don't know if they're really thinking about what they're claiming in the lawsuit, because that's Utah law. It's that we arrest the abuser and she admits to hitting this man. Now, if there are identifying factors that were on her that look like there was severe abuse, then yes, they should have arrested him. Vice versa. There you have it. If you'd like to donate to this great network, $BeganG 129 Cash App. Thank you, Kinsley, for modding. You all have a wonderful afternoon. This is Everyday Shenanigans. Thank you.